Ethan, last time we were having a chat, you were heading towards the 100 Knees of Fury shows. So I was as surprised as anybody when I saw it was Cage of Fury. What did I miss, mate?
I've stuffed it, man. All right, like it's gonna take me that bit longer to get to 100 now. I don't know why I do it to myself, Tony. I like the pain, bro. I guess. But yeah, I was actually talking to Shani, my daughter, the other night about it, and she's like, you could still be like part of the Knees of Fury numbers, couldn't it, Dan? I'm like, no, I don't think it can, man. I think we've got to start like from scratch again. But it's something I've always wanted to do. You know, like 15 years ago, before MMA was allowed in Adelaide, I actually started a petition to get MMA started in Adelaide. You know, had people coming to my shows, signing all this stuff, and took it to the government, and we got it approved, right? But at that time, I didn't really have anything to do with MMA. You know, I only just sort of foreseen it as a good business thing because the UFC was just sort of starting to crank then, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll have a crack at that. And it was strictly a business thing, but I felt a little bit dirty doing it. Like it wasn't my passion, and I don't want to be one of those, I don't know, like a leech businessman type of thing. It wasn't my background or anything, and I just felt a little bit, I don't know, it didn't sit right. So there was a mate of mine in Adelaide. He had an MMA background, and he wanted to do some shows. I said, bro, you do the MMA stuff. I'll stay in my lane, do my Muay Thai. That's my passion. And he's ended up, he does the Diamondback shows in Adelaide now, and he's progressed and done some amazing events, and he's the MMA dude in Adelaide now, right? We've spoken, and I was going to do launch Cage of Fury there last year, but there's a little bit of politics with Muay Thai crew and the MMA crew in Adelaide. Like, my dream is to get them all together so we can build a bigger event, right? But unfortunately, there's a little bit of pushback with the traditionalists in Australia about Muay Thai fighting in a cage and stuff like that, and I respect that, So my vision wasn't going to work in Australia. That I could have the MMA crowd, or I could have the Muay Thai crowd. I found it hard to sort of get them working together at this stage. I think down the track I'll be able to make it work, but initially it was a little bit too hard basket. I got a bit of pushback, got a little bit of apprehension from my venue as well. They were sort of like, well, the cage, we've just allowed, a fight event into a netball stadium. I'm not sure, Ethan, how we feel about this. Maybe a couple more Knees of Furies to build the confidence up, and then we'll do it, right? So everything was pushing against me. So I was like, all right, I'll put it on the back burner. And then now, 2 years later, I've spent this time in Bali, and I've got a relationship with MMA. Now I'm at Core MMA. I'm training MMA dudes sort of for striking. So I don't know. Now it's time. And I got boys in New Zealand that my fighters that I'm trying to push them over to more of the MMA route now. Like, they've achieved good things in the Muay Thai world, but now I think it's time for them to start trying to make some real money, man. Like the money that you make in Muay Thai for the effort that you put in, it's embarrassing, man. And me as a promoter, I can only pay so much. I think I pay, probably the best in New Zealand, and probably the best in Australia. I pay my fighters the most I can, but it's my living. I still got to make money, but it's nowhere near potential MMA money, and I don't want to push broken dreams on these young kids anymore. So if I see a talented student coming through that I think is special, the real special ones, go the MMA route, man. I mean, let's follow in the footsteps of all the CKB crew, and they're making a living now, man, and why wouldn't you want that out of your boys? Like we got boys to glory, got boys to one championship, and the money's shit, man. Like they still had to come back and get a job when they come back and work, and I think the UFC is the way to go. So let's chase that route. So in order to get my boys experience, fight, I can put them on other people's shows, but you sort of, I haven't got control over the matchups, and I can't really guide their career like I can if I do it myself. So here we go, New Zealand Cage of Fury, and there's no pushback in the New Zealand Muay Thai fraternity. They're happy to do Muay Thai in the cage. Different dynamic, everybody's excited. So let's go, man. We'll launch it here. I'll get it cranking here, and then I'll take it to Aussie after a couple, I reckon. So yeah, that's where we're at, man.
Cool. I'm glad, you know, because you've been an innovator, and we've had the fancy dress, you know, we've had we've had fighters from all around the world, and everybody that goes to a Shepp's promotion expects something big, and you know, this is just another step, is the way I see it, anyway.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, the feedback's been really good, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think visually, for me, like I've been to a lot of big cage shows and that around the world, and I don't know, my eyes are a bit bung, man, and looking through the cage, it sort of trips my eyes out. Like, I don't think it's as good a visual as watching fights through a ring, but it's got that, you know, I don't know, something new, and people are like, oh, in the cage, you know. So for a marketing thing and a business decision, I think it's a pretty smart move, man. I think we'll do pretty good, and so far with the ticket sales on this show, it already shows that, you know. So I think we're gonna rip the roof off the YMCA next weekend, man, for sure. So yeah, I'm excited for Carlos. He gets some cage experience, and we're gonna have that last run, man. He's getting older now, but I think if he can get a bit of a run going in the next year, hopefully we can, you know, maybe get him a contender fight in the UFC or something like that. You know, we'll get the wins on the board, and then we'll let, you know, the universe, you know, whatever.
Yeah, well, he's been a real stalwart for you, and he missed out on a fight last time round, so you'd be pretty keen, I'm imagining.
Yeah, no, he's itching at the bit, man. So yeah, he's been putting in the work, and he's fighting a bit heavier this time round, just to give him a fight. It's hard, man, to match these dudes, you know, that, you know, they're world champion in kickboxing. They've had, you know, 40, 50 fights, you know, and now, you know, they're doing the MMA route, and he's had like 3 fights. Like, who do you match him with? You know what I mean? Like, these MMA dudes are not stupid. They don't want to fight against a striker that's had 50 fights, but it's not fair to match him against an MMA dude that's had 10, 15 MMA fights. It's tricky, man, to match him up. But I think I've got a good match in Conor Woodman. He's a kickboxer as well. He's tough, and he's actually had a few MMA fights as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's all about on the ground. And yeah, he's talking it up, man. He really wants Carlos. He actually wanted to fight Matt Vale. Matt Vale put his hand up to fight on the show, but he's got some personal issues and shit at the moment, so he's ended up having to pull out. But yeah, Conor wanted to fight Matt, and I was like, oh, you know, it's a pretty big step up, man. Like, but he's game, you know. Right, so yeah, he not worried about Carlos whatsoever, man. So with that mindset, I think we're in for a treat, man. So.
You talk about the ticket sales being really good. Is it the traditional Knees of Fury fan coming back, or new fans as well?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I haven't had a chance to write up. I've been in Australia doing a show over there, so I haven't had a chance to write up all the ticket sales and the addresses and that to compare the two. But all my usual table people have bought their original table and another one to bring new people along to this one, because it's a bit of a novelty, you know. So yeah, I'm very lucky, man. I've got a lot of good friends, you know, in both countries that support me for years, man, you know. So a lot of the time I sell, you know, 10, 15 tables just through my friend group, you know. Like, it's funny, man. Like, they don't have anything to do with kickboxing at all. I just play poker with them, and, you know, they're just mates I have a few beers with on the weekend, and they support me, man, you know, which is, I feel very blessed that that's why it helps my shows a lot when I know I can sell 10 tables just through my crew without the fighters and that, you know. And that's, like I say, in both countries, I feel very, very, you know, very grateful and privileged that I've got those friends that have supported me for so many years, man. It's pretty cool.
There's a reason for that, mate. There is a reason for that. And one of the things I was going to ask you was, going forward, you usually hold 2 shows in New Zealand a year.
Funny you say that, because my bar manager was here this morning, and because I've just done the Aussie show last week, and then this week, so I'm doing 2 in 2 weeks. It's been hard, but I like a challenge, and I think there's room to do another one in New Zealand. My next show in Aussie is the 29th of July. My daughter's birthday is on the 8th of July, and she's having her party the next weekend on the 15th of July, so I'm going to go her 18th on the 8th, her actual birthday on the 8th, her party on the 15th. I'm going to do a show here on the 22nd, another maybe a Cage of Fury, and then do Aussie on the 29th. So it definitely won't be a dry July for me, mate. All right. So, but yeah, we're going to smash it, man. I've been thinking the last couple of years in New Zealand, I mean, when COVID obviously came, there wasn't any room for it, but, you know, I was doing March, October for the last sort of 6-7 years in New Zealand. I've always thought maybe there's a window there, mid-year one, because there's not much happening in Hamilton. And now with me working at Core, I've got a whole new group of first-timers that want to fight. And I haven't been able to fit them all on this card. And I'm thinking, stuff it, man. Like my plan, my goal was this year to just smash it, like go back to how I used to take a lot of risks and that, man. You know, like I think we sort of spoke on the last video. You know, my personal situation is much different now than what it has been. I don't have the responsibilities that I used to have with a wife and bills and mortgages and all that shit. And so now I feel like a young 25-year-old fresh promoter, and I'm gonna gamble, man, and I'm gonna gamble on myself. And yeah, I'm gonna smash it this year, man. I feel really motivated, and we're gonna go for it, man. So yeah, I'm gonna do 3 shows here and 3 shows in Aussie, and that'll give me my 6 shows that I used to do. I used to do 4 in Australia and 2 here, but I've sort of mixed up because I'm only doing the big venues in Australia now. So yeah, I'll do 3 in both and see how we go, man. So yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
Well, I'm not a gambler, but I'll back you, mate.
Thank you, bro. If you can't gamble on yourself, man, who can you gamble on? You know, and like I love it, Tony. I feel real invigorated and rejuvenated in the last couple of years, and without, you know, the weight of the world on my back anymore. Yeah, I feel like I can take some risks, man. You know, and yeah, it feels good to be able to do that. You know, so yeah.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. We can leave it there, or we can keep running, because a lot of people after your last interview, you know, how's Ethan?
Yeah, I know. I got a lot of messages about it, man. Like, to be honest, Tony, like on that day, I just found out some not so nice news and that, and I was driving to the interview, and I was like, oh man, like, come on, man, you can do this, you can do this, you know. And then we sort of, I think I actually touched on those sensitive bits in the interview, and after it, I sort of got home, I was like, oh man, like I could feel my sort of tears welling up and shit, you know. And that's why I said to him, like, how does it look? Did it look bad? And I looked down, I was like, oh, it's not too bad. And then yeah, I got a lot of positive feedback, sort of from, I think, especially from trainers, because we're all living the same life, man. Like, we all got dramas. That's one thing I've learned, man. The older I've got, like, everyone's got shit going on in their life, and as trainers, we got to put our own personal things to the side and for our fighters, because they're the main person. You know what we're doing, and their safety's in our hands. But a lot of trainers, man, we've got our own shit going on, and who do we go to talk about it? Because we're all the students are coming to us for all the answers. And we don't have all the answers, man. Like, we're not some holy book that has got life all worked out. You know, we've got our own shit going on, and just because we're older doesn't mean we've got it all worked out. And I think a lot of the messages that I got from other trainers, they were like, man, like, yeah, you touched on some stuff that, you know, because we're all giving everything to our fighters all the time, and people don't realise that, man, you know. And like I was saying about putting them in to the fire, their health and safety is in our hands, and we don't take it for granted, man. Like, New Zealand's got some really good trainers that care for their boys and everything. And yeah, it was cool, man, to get that feedback, to be honest. It made me feel a bit better and about sharing my emotions, I suppose, you know. So, you get it out of me, Tony, you bastard.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's the way you are. You're an open book, and that's why you get people buying tables all the time, mate. That's why I said it's a reason for that, because it's who you are. Just
try to be, I don't know, I don't think in life, what's the point of pretending, man? You know, like, you are who you are, and if people don't like you for who you are, well, you know, so be it, man. You get on with it, eh? Mm.
Very
Shut down.
good on you, man.
Thanks,
Good
bro.
on you.
Thanks for coming all the way down, man. Like, yeah, I
Hey,
appreciate it. You got other people in that to see down here today?
No, we did a wee show at Norm's, and I'm just going to drop some fights off around.
Oh,